The views and opinions expressed in this broadcast are those of the speakers or authors and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by the producers of this broadcast. The material herein is for entertainment purposes only.
Welcome to Afterlife Radio Podcast and Video Podcast. My name is Kalila Smith, coming to you live from New Orleans, Louisiana in the U.S. And I'm here with my co-host, Billy Roberts, who is coming to us live from Cornwall in the U.K. We're coming from both sides of the pond. Welcome, Billy. Good morning. Good afternoon in your case.
Hi, Kalila. Nice to be back.
Wonderful to have you back. So we're going to have a great show today. We're going to be talking about the connections between the auras and the chakras. Billy's talked us about it so much to us. Billy shared with us a lot of information about the chakras and the aura on a previous show, and now we're going to talk about what happens when the two come together and how they work together. But Billy, I got a question for you, because when I first started training with spiritualists in my mediumship path, I learned about doorkeepers, or gatekeepers, if you will. And many people said, well, my deceased grandmother or my mother is my gatekeeper. What is your opinion of gatekeepers? This would be the person who brings forth the other spirits to the medium. Do you have a belief system as far as someone who intercedes with the other spirits as they come through and kind of organizes it on the other end? Because that's what I was taught. So what is your opinion on that?
I think in cases where your family, your deceased relative has a sort of a spiritual awareness, then they can help for a short while. But as to being a gatekeeper, no. And this is just my opinion and what I've learned over the years. Gatekeepers are exalted souls. These are beings that you've known prior to coming into this life. In different lives, they've gone with you through all the different lives. They don't always guide you down an easy road. Sometimes it's necessary to guide you down a difficult roadway so that you gain the experience that you need and also they need to develop, because development continues throughout time. But I had the experience of my own mother, who was a medium. And for a short while, I knew that she was with me when she passed over, just to supervise things, because my grandmother was a medium as well. My grandmother was German, and I felt that the whole family were a part of my development. But as to being the gatekeeper, it's a special person. It's an entity that sometimes has not experienced a physical life. They're entities that probably come from another dimension, and they help you. The gate is the aura. They overwhelm you. They protect you from the so-called vagabonds of the astral world, and they supervise your development and the things that you are doing. But as to a grandmother or a mother supervising you permanently, I don't think so. I don't think they're equipped spiritually to help you. But in saying that, and we've had this discussion before, in the case of Stephanie, for an example, she would be there to supervise you in all different ways, because she would have had an awareness, a knowledge that you don't possess. And she would want to continue her sojourn in this world with you as your guide and celestial being. But that's a different thing altogether. than a gatekeeper. I mean, we do have guides, spirit guides in spiritualism who help you at various stages of your life. Sometimes you wonder, what the hell are they doing? Because I've had a hell of a year. But they do it for a particular reason. They guide you down a difficult roadway, a difficult route, so that you can gain that experience that you need to develop your consciousness. Is that okay?
Yes. That was perfect. I mean, I just wanted your honest opinion about that. And I am aware, because, as you know, I'm in a mental circle as well as a physical circle, and have been for a number of years, for almost 9 years now. So Stephanie had passed since basically when she passed, so about 8 years. But
it is my opinion
of her presence.
Yeah, it's my opinion, this, and I mean, people have different theories as to who helps you along your spiritual pathway. But I've seen different things. I've seen in one case a lady who lost their son. He was 17, and I knew by looking at the woman, and I knew by the things she told me and what I could see with her, that he had attached himself to her to protect her as much as he could. But sometimes your relatives can interfere with the whole process of development. They get in the way, so to speak. And then you've got to look at the other aspect of it. You've got to look at reincarnation. At what point, if reincarnation is a fact, do these people choose to re-embody, to subject themselves to re-embodiment? It's not compulsory, but it's an advantage if you can choose your circumstances into which you are born, the time that you're born, the country, and everything about it, you can actually choose. But it isn't compulsory. And in the case where your loved ones have all passed over, people say to me, well, why? Will my mother be there? Will my brother, my daughter be there? Will they have been reborn? Well, no, because the bond of love is strong. And they, until the whole family, the group soul, the family group is over in the spirit world, then they choose whether they want to subject themselves to re-embodiment. I know what I'm going to do, mind you, but that's another story.
What do you? Do you know what you're going to do? What would you choose? Would you come back here? I mean, seriously.
I think I certainly don't want to come back in a going through the things I've gone through in the past. But I think my idea of coming back to this life, I'm a bit of a materialistic person. Well, I have become one over the years. So I make sure that I'm born into a wealthy family, probably royalty. I'm only kidding, rather. I'm joking. But I think I've always had an attraction with Yeah. I've always had an attraction with India, and the Eastern traditions. Always, it's part of me. So I think that's the place I would go to, India, but not in the lower castes, impoverished. I'd have to have some comfort of being through all that, and I think we're entitled to a different life and some pleasures, and I think so.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. I got to say, I don't know that I'd want to come back here. I got to be honest. I don't know that I want to come back here. This is a tough place. It really is. I mean, for some people, they seem to have it a lot easier, but I got to be honest with you. This is a tough place, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better.
I mean, as I say in Buddhism, this is Maya, illusion, that this is not the real life. And we can only surmise that, when we move on into a different dimension, when we pass over, that it's going to be better than this. I have my own theories about an afterlife. And I think it's probably like passing through one stage to another, and everything is the same, only more so. I mean, it's not a world, it's not a physical state, it's a transcendental state. And so we don't have a physical body, but we do have a consciousness, a mind, and that's our mode of transport. It's a thought world. So we can be, your mother, your father can be in two places at the same time if they want to. People don't understand that. But the consciousness can be divided into different places.
I've heard that. It's a hard concept for us physically to kind of wrap our heads around, because, you know, we are in this body, we're in this dimension, and this is what we're accustomed to, and this is what our senses pick up. So trying to visualize something where, okay, they can be at two places at one time, how does that work? You know? So, you know, it's a little bit a hard concept to wrap your head around. But I've also heard that some people can reincarnate and a piece of them is still left on the other side. I mean, what is your thought on that?
Possible. I don't know about that one, but I know that in Eastern tradition, they have something called the monadic principle. This is the main spirit that's born, and it bears no relation to the previous life. The only thing you have in relation to the life that you've just left is experience, because life is the constant accumulation of knowledge, the storing up of the results of experience. So it's the law of karma. The law of karma and reincarnation work hand in hand. If you can't accept both of them, then the other one isn't going to work. So I think it's possible that part of you, an aspect of your being, is already in the spirit world, manipulating you like a marionette, like a puppet. And that's another theory that's thrown about by a lot of occultists.
I've heard that.
And people in theosophy.
I've heard of that.
So you're manipulated. And they're the real gods, the real gatekeepers who know exactly what they want you to do and what you're going to go through, all the pains that you're going to have, because they know the outcome. They can see it all. So they manipulate you. I find that a fascinating theory.
Some of it's interesting. Some of it's a bit terrifying because, like I said, I don't know if you've seen any of the photographs on the internet of the little babies that they've had recently being born, and they come into this world and they have a scowl on their face, and they look very like they hold the baby up that's just born, and it's like it looks very angry, and I think, oh man, that one's been here before, and that one's not too happy about coming back, obviously. And I have to say, if given a choice, I don't think I'd want to come back to here. I really don't. I think once I leave here, it's going to be like, I'm out. I'm done. This is a tough place. It really is.
There was a young man. He had lots of mental issues. He was born with all kinds of problems, mental problems and physical problems. And he couldn't communicate verbally. He was adopted by a wealthy couple who lived in London. And cut a long story short, he couldn't communicate. There was no mode. He couldn't write. He couldn't do anything. But they had a grand piano because he was a musician, the man who owned the house. And they heard this beautiful music one day. And they went into the where the piano was, into the lounge. And there was their son, their adopted son, playing classical music. Oh, wow. His fingers were going across the keys as though he was a professional musician. They had no answer for it. He hadn't been taught because he couldn't communicate.
Wow.
And there was a program done on this young man some years ago. They had no answer for it. He just seemed to carry this ability in with him. And there's lots of cases like that where kids have brought these unusual skills into them. They've never been taught them. Artistic skills, creative skills, musical skills. People that don't know where it's come from. But it has to come from a previous embodiment, a previous life in some form. And that will bring us into the chakras, because in some way the chakra system has something to do with reincarnation. And we can talk about that later.
Wow. All right. Well, then we're going to take a little break and we're going to come back, because now you've piqued my interest and I really want to hear how that goes together, because, you know, I just have so many questions about reincarnation. I'm not really on board with it 100%. I don't quite understand all of it 100% either. So I'm looking forward to this. We're going to take a little break, guys. We're going to be right back, and we're going to talk some more about this. Step beyond the veil that separates our world from the world of spirits with me, Kalila Smith, as we uncover the mysteries of the afterlife. This is a spiritual journey as we try to discover if life really does continue after the physical death. Are after-death communications real, or do we imagine them? Get my book, Afterlife Mysteries Revealed, and find out. Afterlife Mysteries Revealed, available on Amazon.com by Kalila Smith. Okay, welcome back. So, Billy, now you have really piqued my curiosity. So, enlighten us. Tell us about this whole thing with the chakras and the auras, and hopefully how it leads into how it's connected to reincarnation. This is really fascinating.
Well, the chakra system and the aura has always interested me, even long before I started working as a medium. It just fascinated me, certainly because it's not only a metaphysical concept, it's now a scientific concept. The chakras and the aura do exist. They've been proven scientifically with photographic confirmation. When a child is born, although the seven major chakras are there potentially, only one of them will function, and that's the one at the base of the spine. This is called Muladhara, and it's the instinctive chakra. It's the one that causes the baby to search for food, to cry for its mother's breast. And it takes 12 months for the next chakra to begin to form. So in 2 years, when the child is 2 years old, the next chakra begins to form, becomes active. This is called Svadhisthana. Basically, it means the gate. Not exactly, but it means the gate. And it shows that the child is becoming aware of its surroundings. It starts to identify certain faces, certain sounds. And then when it's 3, the third chakra opens, and these are like mini flowers, and the petals increase as they ascend the spine. The third chakra is called Manipura. It's when the child asserts its individuality. It puts its stamp on things and starts to sound off. It will cry and demand things. I mean, all kids do that, we know, but at the age of 3, important. Then on the 4th year, Anahata, which is the goddess within the person. Anahata is the heart center. This is the seat of emotion. This is the seat of feeling. This is the chakra that's active when a person is a healer, when a person is emotionally inclined and they feel sensitive towards people, the one that drives you to want to help people. So on the 5th year, the next one begins to open. And this is called Vishuddha. And Vishuddha is very connected to the thyroid gland. It's a lot of clairaudient mediums. People who are clairaudient often have an overactive or underactive thyroid, or they might have pancreatic problems. So this is also to do with the sense of hearing, not necessarily mediumistically, but also, people who are good listeners, counselors, people who like to listen and to solve problems for people. So that's Vishuddha. Then you have the 6th one, which is called Ajna. Now, Ajna is the traditional third eye. This is the one between the brows. This is the one that makes you studious. It makes you analytical. It makes you able to solve problems. It makes you a good clairvoyant. And then on the 7th year, when the child is 7, the 7th chakra begins to open. It's called Sahasrara. It's the consciousness, the one that connects you to God and that place of light. Now, at the age of 7, we program our kids. We chastise them. We make them wear the colors, the clothes that we choose. We say, don't do that, do this. And we mold them. We actually impregnate our own feelings into them. And their chakra system changes polarity, and that affects the aura. Now, the chakras are connected to the endocrine glands and nerve plexuses through an extensive system of channels called nadis. Everybody knows what a meridian is. You know, the body is permeated with meridians. We go and see an acupuncturist. But nadis are equated with the branches of a tree and the meridians of the trunk of the tree. So nadis are underestimated, and it's along nadis the pranic energy flows from the chakras to the organs of the physical body. Now, although your body is permeated by thousands of nadis, there are three major nadis which are considered primary. And these are called Ida nadi, Pingala nadi, and the central spinal channel, which is called Sushumna. Now, Sushumna extends from the base chakra to the brow chakra. And Ida and Pingala nadi, they move round Sushumna in a serpentine pattern, and they meet Sushumna at each chakra. Now, Ida nadi is represented symbolically in all writings by the symbol of the moon. It contains the female energy, and it's referred to as Ha, H-A. Pingala nadi is represented by the symbol of the sun. It's referred to as Tha. It's the male energy. And from these two words, Ha, Tha, you get Hatha, which is a reference to those physical disciplines of that particular branch of yoga. Now, yoga means union, right, and Hatha is male and female. So yoga, technically, brings a unification of the male and female energies together. Now, in mediumistic practice, mediumistic development, I've said this before, a lot of mediums, male mediums, tend to be gay. It doesn't make you gay. It just means the female energy is quite prevalent, it's quite strong in mediumistic development. A lot of mediums they lack discipline, and so they affect the chakra system. And believe it or not, a lot of schools of thought, particularly in Rosicrucianism, they believe that the chakra system are cosmic banks. In fact, they contain within them all the experience of your past lives. And as you develop spiritually, whether you sit in a development circle or you practice meditation, these chakras start to release their inherent qualities. So it's brought back to you into your memory, and you start to develop. Now, if the energy, which is prana comes from the sun, and the other prana shakti or kundalini comes from the earth. So these two energies have to meet at some point. And prana is a very vital energy. Prana is a subtle agent through which the life of the body is sustained. So the more prana that enters and remains in your body, the higher the quality of your life. Where there is no prana, there is no life. So life is solely dependent upon pranic energy and your breath. So breath is vitally important. So breathing correctly helps to vivify the chakra system. They become coruscating whirlpools of color and vitality. Now, if you can imagine that each chakra has a word representing it, it's called a bija mantra. Bija means seed or semen. This is the basic key to the chakra. It helps you to understand what's in your chakra system, which ones you're trying to develop. If you think, I want to develop just one chakra or two chakras, that's not the way to do it, because it can have an adverse effect on your whole development. So every chakra has a word representing it, and it also has a geometric shape, a yantra. So you can use the yantras for each chakra to meditate on, or you can use the words. Now, I wrote them down because I don't know whether you can see that.
Yes. Oh,
yeah. Yes. So that's the base chakra. Starts off with Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Sham, Om. You don't sound the K in Sham. You can either concentrate on each individual one each day, or you can intonate them in quick succession. It's best done in a group, so you could do it in your group. Like lam, bam, ram, yam, ham, sham, lam, bam, and just over and over. It's very monotonous, but it produces a calming rhythmical effect on each sitter's mind, on your mind. And it also helps to release the energies in the chakra system. The chakras in some way are connected to the aura. And we've already said that the human form is an electromagnetic unit of incredible power, and it's contained in its own spectrum of color and light. So the aura changes. We know this, don't we? It changes with every thought, with every feeling. It even changes with your diet, the way you are in the day. But you have a predominant aura, and this aura never changes. This is your character. This is the real you. And this is the one we encounter when we first meet somebody, and we either like them or dislike them, because there's a chemical reaction, because the aura does release a very subtle energy, a chemical that affects each individual. The colors do change. They change by the minute, but the predominant aura will never change unless you're pulled into the wrong circumstances. Circumstances in life affect you with the wrong people, and then things begin to get out of control where your aura is concerned. Do you understand that? Did you follow all that? Did you follow
Yeah,
that?
Absolutely. Yeah, it makes sense. I've started learning about auras back in the 1970s. I was a teenager. And one of the things that we used to do, my brother was much older than me. He was 22 years older than me, and he was married. And my sister-in-law and her friends, who were in their 20s, when I was a teenager, my friends would come over and they would read our auras. And we'd all stand against the white door, the white wall, and the older ones would, tell us what color our auras were. And we started studying that. I guess I was about 14 when I started studying about the auras, and started trying to see them and becoming aware of them, though. So I think it's all quite fascinating. And I am a practitioner. I practice yoga, not as in depth as I should, but I definitely practice yoga and do the pranayama. And since I started doing yoga on a regular basis, it has definitely enhanced my mediumship abilities. I've had some phenomenal, I went to a yoga studio once here in New Orleans. There's this big yoga studio downtown, and I went there for something that they called a sound bath. They were doing a meditation, and they had all of these magnificent gongs and all of these different bowls and so forth, that they were going to create this sound at the same time that we were doing some of the yoga, positions. And the first time I walked into that studio and I sat on the mat, the energy in there was so high. I could feel the spirits. I mean, it made me cry. That's how high the vibration was in this place, that I literally became very emotional, and it made me cry. So very much aware of the whole yoga connection to this and how important it is. But we're going to take a little break, and we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about this.
Good.
We'll be right back, guys.
Submitted for your approval. New Orleans. Seductive, magical, mysterious, and haunted. There is no place on this earth with as much ghost and vampire activity as New Orleans. Imagine, if you will, a tour that takes you to sites in the French Quarter of actual documented hauntings. The Haunted History Tour is just that tour. Every day, every night, all year round. This tour has been featured on ABC, CBS, NBC, and CNN, and it's available to you. Are there ghosts and vampires in the French Quarter? Find out by taking the tour that everyone is talking about, the Haunted History Tour. For more information, call Haunted History Tours at 861-2727. That's 861-2727. This is not a Halloween spookhouse. This is real.
Right, so we're back, and we are just hanging on the edge here with Billy telling us about this, because I love this. I absolutely love this. I love yoga. And I've been familiar with the auras and the chakras for a long, long time, but this is taking it one step further. And I think this is, especially for budding mediums, I mean, this has really been a tremendous help in my mediumistic path, is connecting on this level to the yoga and the chakras and the auras. So Billy, keep going with this. This is wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, but you know about mudras. Each chakra has a particular mudra, which you can adopt using.
And a lot of people who are listening, not to interrupt you, but a lot of people who are listening are not. They don't know what the mudras are. Those are the hand movements. The hand movements. The mudras. So so that's when he talks about the mudras. Sorry.
So I was just saying. So in yoga meditation, I studied something called Raja Yoga, which is the yoga, the royal yoga they call it. This is the philosophical side of it. It goes into the different aspects of your spirituality and development. And I think when you look at in Buddhism, they normally have 9 chakras, but the fallacy that the mistake that people make when they talk about mediums are talking to recipients of a message, they often say, I see your crown chakra very well. The crown chakra is dormant at this stage of our evolution. It's only awakened in people like gurus, people who devote their lives to meditation and prayer, people who isolate themselves and take very little food. The crown chakra becomes very, very active. The other mistake mediums make is to talk about purple being in the aura. Now, purple's a transient color. You only see it for a very short while. It doesn't stay in the aura. It's too powerful. So when mediums say, you've got a lot of purple in your aura, they're not seeing it right because it's just not there. And because, as I said, it's transient. It's a very powerful color that you see in certain individuals just for a short while. Now, I think that in a previous program, I mentioned how you can see the aura without using people. And that is to take the seeds from a fresh apple and put 2 seeds about 1/4 of an inch away from each other on a white piece of paper and just stare at them for a few moments. And within a few moments, even if you're not psychically inclined, the seeds will seem to emit a white light or a shadow that will move around them in a clockwise motion. And you'll see straight radiation lines because the pips are healthy. They represent a healthy person. Now, if you place those pips in an envelope out of the way for 24 hours and bring them out again after 24 hours, place them 15, just 1/4 of an inch away from each other on a pip, you'll see a different phenomenon. You'll see that the pips, the energy radiating has changed. It's darker and it's sluggish, and the radiation lines are no longer straight. But if you place fresh pips by them, you'll see a very unusual phenomenon. It's something we encounter in our physical lives with healthy people. You'll see the fresh pips, the energy radiating from them, reaching out to the old pips in an effort to revitalize them. It's amazing to watch. And you'll also see the old pips will be drawing the energy from the healthy pips. And we do this in our everyday lives. People who are not very well, if you're in the presence of somebody who has a lot of pranic energy in their bodies, somebody who's very healthy or appears to be healthy, we draw from them the energy that we need and to be revitalized. And we often draw it from the person who's healthy, who also feels a bit sluggish now and out of sorts, because we've drawn from them the energy that we need, and they have in abundance. But they go home, have a cup of tea, a biscuit, and they're revitalized again because their body is equipped to draw in the energy that they need. So prana is in the air that we breathe, but it's not the air itself. It's in matter, but it's not matter. It's in water, but it's not water. It's in the food that we eat, but it's not the food that we eat. It permeates everything having life. And we know that everything has life in varying degrees. So breathing, as we mentioned, pranayama, which is various degrees of breathing, helps you to revitalize the body. But a lot of people don't realize that it's the breath retention that does the good. The longer you can hold your breath, the more prana will circulate and touch the organs of your body. And then also your exhalation has to be longer than the inhalation. So there are different types of breathing, pranayama. Diaphragmatic breathing is very important because it helps to revitalize the body and revitalize you. And it's important working as a medium that before you start working, that you do some breathing, deep breathing to revitalize your lungs and your organs. And then when you finish, replenish the body with some freshly charged water. Now, prana is in water, but if you move the water, pour it from one glass to another through the air, backwards and forwards, until the water sparkles, then you know the prana has been revitalized, and then you can drink it in a couple of doses, and you'll taste the difference, and you'll feel the difference as well. So prana is quite important to the manifestation of life. Interesting.
Fascinating. Yes. Yes, definitely. Definitely. We're going to take another little break real quick right now and come back and continue on with this. We'll be right back. Follow me, Kalila Smith, into the mysterious world of spirits. Searching for Spirits, the ultimate guide for ghost hunters, is a concise how-to manual for anyone who enjoys a good ghost hunt. Learn the history of spiritualism, learn what a ghost is and what is not. Learn the truth about poltergeist. We'll also delve into the realm of spiritual beings that never were human, the world of demons, real vampires, and we'll look at some real case studies. This is a must-have for everyone interested in ghost hunting, from the novice to the expert. Completely updated in its second edition, this is one of the first guides for ghost hunting based on actual first-hand experiences. Available on Amazon.com. Searching for Spirits, the ultimate guide for ghost hunters by Kalila Smith.
Is there anything else you want to?
That wasn't really 12.
Wasn't it?
I mean, what else would you like to carry on with this? I mean, because we could come back, talk a little bit more about this. Do you have one of your books, The Naughty, so you can hold it up?
I haven't got one here. No, I haven't.
Gosh, okay. I don't have one back here. I'm in the back part of my house.
Oh, right,
It would take me forever to. I'm still waiting to get my shots in my back. It would take me forever to crawl up to the front to go get it.
Because the last book, The Naughty Technique, that was the Naughty Self-Healing with the Naughty Technique. That was published by Llewellyn in America. Yeah, they published a couple of my books. We can
talk about it because on radio they won't see it anyway, but on the video what I can do is have a picture of it come in and be there. So
all right.
So that's fine. All right, let's go on. Let's move on. Okay, so we're back. So Billy, this is just all so fascinating. Now these people who are listening to this and watching, if they're watching the video, they can find all of this information in your book, The Naughty Technique.
Yeah, it's called Self-Healing with the Naughty Technique, the Holistic Way. And it's quite a comprehensive handbook. It covers a variety of techniques, not just for self-healing, but how you can affect healing in other people as well. Some unusual techniques. It's very eclectic. So, I've covered a broad spectrum of treatments from different sources. It's a fascinating book. And also about the pranayama. I've not gone into detail with the pranayamic exercises. That's another part of my work. But also about meditation and the chakras and how the chakras affect you. I mean, some schools of thought, believe it or not, believe that physical spontaneous combustion occurs when the chakra system closes down completely. Because they believe that chakras are like mini transformers. It's their job to modify and control the energy, the pranic energy that comes into the body. So it controls it, modifies it, and helps to discharge it. Now, if that job done properly, there's an overload, and it can cause, I've not known it to cause physical spontaneous combustion, but it can cause all kinds of psychological problems if a person is slightly unstable. Because anybody with a history of psychological problems really should always be supervised by a qualified teacher. And there are certain things they should do and should not do. And one of the things they shouldn't do is to practice alone. Meditation is important because meditation makes you more focused, it makes you grounded, and it also makes you more positive in your approach to the things that you're doing. Now, a lot of research was done in California University about the effects of meditation on the brain. And it was concluded that people who meditate for long periods, people who've meditated for many, many years, their brain was different. Measurements were taken, it sounds bizarre, but measurements were taken of the brain, and then the following year taken again, and the brain was different in size and different, completely different altogether. Not just the historic brain, wow, but the overall size of the brain. I've mentioned this before, but it's an interesting concept. But it's about Ivan Tutinsky, who was a Polish neuroscientist in Moscow University in 1903. And for some reason, best known to him, he suddenly became fascinated with the fact that children, could have these weird experiences, psychic experiences. And although Tutinsky took pains to avoid the word psychic, he was fascinated by it, so much so that he put his normal work aside and compromised his professional integrity and was ridiculed by his peers. But during all this, he found that the pineal gland, which is a walnut-shaped gland deep in the brain, was larger in a child than it is in an adult, and more developed in a female than it is in a male. So Tutinsky thought that the pineal gland was responsible for it. It was a sort of a radar device. It zoomed in and brought energy to it and could monitor molecular changes in the atmosphere. Now, in more recent years, they did autopsies on the bodies of psychically inclined people, and they found abnormalities in the brain and also in the pineal gland, which was larger than anybody else's. So it's like the aura is a database. The aura is a blueprint of everything you've done and also everything you're going to do in the future. This is why psychics can home into it and give you a reading from your aura. But it's all to do with the pineal gland, which plays an important part in the manifestation of consciousness. Fascinating stuff. What's your take on that?
It's amazing. Oh, I'm just enthralled with this. I agree, because I do a lot of psychic readings where I'm picking up things in the auric field. And some of the classes that I've taken with different mediums, again, some from the UK, I've worked on how to know if you're in the auric field or if you're really talking to spirit. And that's really important too. That's something that people really need to understand, is where is the auric field, what level of vibration that is, because if you're not fully in the power, you're not connecting with spirit, you're connecting with the auric field. And you can bounce back and forth. And in a lot of my private readings, I'm doing psychic and mediumship, and I'm going back and forth with the reading. But I've seen a lot of mediums, especially new mediums and some seasoned mediums, who are really doing psychic readings out of the auric field and not really connecting to spirit.
Exactly.
And I've taken classes with someone who kind of specializes in that, and I'll never forget when I went to when they went to the UK the first time to study, and we'd be in a class, and the minute you would come out of the power and get into that auric field, she would yell, "Stop! Go back, get in the power. You're not in the power." And she stood there, and she would kind of make you stay in that realm, because people don't realize how easy it is to change that vibration and start picking up things out of the auric field. And you can get a lot of information out of it. In fact, I've seen some mediums, and I won't name names, but I've seen some mediums do a complete alleged mediumship reading, completely working with the auric field. And they're not purposely trying to do a cold reading, but they're just picking up information. I mean, if you're sitting there thinking of your loved one and you're thinking of memories, they could be picking that up rather than actually getting it. And this is, of course, where the importance of validation comes in, being able to really validate if that was truly coming from spirit, or if it was something that was in your auric field that they would have picked up from those memories.
Yeah. See, this is the problem I have with mediumship. Because there are so many psychologists, parapsychologists now in the profession, and everything is very sophisticated the way they work, and they pick holes in everything to do with cold reading. And Phineas Bonham, the circus man, his catchphrase was, "I have something for everyone." So parapsychologists call cold reading the Bonham effect, after Phineas Bonham, the circus man. Right. Because if I went to a theater and I said to a room full of people, "Can anybody take the name John?" you can rest assured that more than half of the audience will have a John in the audience. Now, so you have to be very specific.
Of course.
Giving no detailed information, you always need to strive to give precise and detailed information, even if it's wrong. Don't wait for a voice to manifest or a vision to appear. If it pops into your head, then say it. You always say what's in your head, because you get extraneous thoughts that you know are not your own. Now, I mentioned before that chakras are connected to the endocrine glands and nerve plexuses. So when you're working mediumistically, there is a rush of adrenaline. Your tummy will turn over, and you'll feel excited. Now, that is when the spirit world is close. Now, mediumship, as we've discussed before, is experimental. It doesn't always work. You can throw yourself into the zone. You can put yourself, as your teacher said, stop, go back. You can do that, but it doesn't mean to say you're going to call anybody back or anybody going to communicate with you. You can only hope that there's going to be somebody there. Now, I was always taught that always make it clear to the audience, it might not be the person you expect to communicate. It might not be the father you've lost, or the daughter, or the son. It might be somebody random, a neighbor who's communicating. We don't know. We can't make choices. We can't discriminate between who's going to communicate. And that's the beauty of mediumship, because mediumship is a beautiful, beautiful gift. And once you refine it and develop it, it opens up a part of the universe that you'd never dreamed of. And it is beautiful. And I've seen many the veteran mediums work over the years. And as a kid, My mother used to take me when I was like 3 or 4 years old to a little fabric shop, a wool shop that used to sell wool and fabric materials and things. And it was run by two elderly ladies. And she'd say to my mother or whoever was there, have you come for the meeting? And because it was very furtive, spiritualism in the 1950s and 40s. And my mother said yes. So she'd take it into the back room and they'd give you a tray and you'd put an item of jewelry or something on it, on the tray, and they do psychometry. I don't know whether you do flower sentience, do you? Do you do flower sentience in America?
Flower sentience?
Yeah, flower sentience.
You mean psychometry?
Yeah, with a flower though. Have you never tried that?
No, I've never heard of that. No, tell me about it.
Let me enlighten you about this one. I got into deep.
Yes, do.
I got into deep water some years ago because I came up with a revelation about psychometry being illegal in spiritualist churches. And a lot of spiritualists who are obviously new to it argued with me, and some left the meeting. But I had a dear friend, he's now deceased. He was nearly, he's in his 90s. And he was the first man to be brought to trial by the Catholic Church for doing psychometry in a spiritualist church. It constituted fortune telling. So he was fined £100. This is in 1951, 52. He was found £100 sterling, and it went on his record. And I saw the newspaper cutting that he showed me. But what spiritualists did later on, they substituted psychometry for flower sentience. So people brought along a flower which they would hold during the day. So you could have a flower and you could think of Stephanie or your mum or your dad or whoever you wanted. You'd come along to the meeting and the person at the meeting would stick a number, a ticket, a cloakroom ticket on your flower, and it would be put on a table, and you'd have the other number, the other ticket, the other part of it. The medium would proceed to take the flower off the table, wouldn't know it was yours, but she'd give a reading from the flower, then call the number out of your ticket, and you would say, that's my flower. And you would say whether the reading was good or wrong. Or
wow. Okay.
But they do that.
Yes.
You try it in the States.
That's very interesting. That's very, very interesting. Yes. And it would work. It would definitely work.
Providing that the person didn't just randomly select the flowers that are going to the church, you have to hold it for a while. It's beautiful.
Right.
If you get
that's wonderful. Gosh.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Well, Billy, we're just about out of time. We're going to have to discuss this some more further on. We're going to have to come back to this, revisit the psychometry and the flowers too, because that's very interesting. And I think there's a lot of budding mediums and psychics out there that would find this, useful in their practice as well. But for right now, we are going to have to say to be continued. And again, tell them the name of your book and how they find it.
It's called Self-Healing with the Nadi Technique, the holistic way. And it's on Amazon, or they can buy it directly from me signed. My email address.
And it's a wonderful book. I have the book. It's awesome.
Got it. My email address is billyroberts@sky.com.
There you go, folks. All right. Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful hour, and it went by very quickly. Thank you all for tuning in, and join us next time on The Afterlife. Bye-bye, all.
Bye.